Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Golden Kingdom. So, in the last episode, we began our descent into utter debauchery and just all sorts of cheating and everything else in between. And we basically began our rise as we turn around and overstock our military and everything else in between. I've also tweaked some other stats up here, as you can see. I basically just zeroed out every single thing that would give me a negative for right now. I didn't do the weakening traditions one. I didn't run into the stat thingy. So I'll have to give that another look see when I get a chance. But yeah, so far so good. I don't still know what I'm going to do. This is coming right after the last video, so if there are any comments on the last video about strategies and ideas, I'm not going to see it until probably after this video, which will probably come out either the very next day or in the middle of the week. I have not decided yet because I want to again try to condense this as much as possible. So let's go ahead and skip through all of these. And our next thingy is the council meeting on foreign relations. Nelvasar oil field closure. All right. And this is closed. Can't do anything about that. And of course, that didn't actually do anything to me because, well, actually, I think it might have did something to me. But yeah, I did change all the stats on this. So maybe it didn't hurt as much as I thought. But I'll have to go and look at that again and tweak it whenever I get another chance. Yeah, you're commemorating your closing. All right. Let's see, what other bills do we have? Let me just go ahead and skim through these so that way they won't appear as if I have something that I can pass, and I don't actually have something that I can pass. Naturalization process for foreigners, remove death penalty, equal gender pay, nope. All right, get all this stuff out of the way. I should have at least one though. Okay, the Monkeys Port and Naval Shipyard expansion. So I do have that. The Monkeys Port and Naval Shipyard Expansion Decree is a strategic move to bolster Rizia's maritime and naval capacities. By significantly enlarging the Monkeys Port, it aims to augment global trade operation and strengthen naval shipbuilding and maintenance capabilities. The outcome is not only a potential doubling of trade benefits, but also an enhanced naval force, signaling Rizia's dedication to economic and defensive development. It is also expected to significantly boost the province of Valenquir's resource extraction industry. So yes, let's go on ahead and sign that. And I think that's pretty much it. Again, I'll go ahead and sell some weapons and stuff just to do so. What should we sell? Sure, let's sell some military equipment. It doesn't actually cost me anything, besides the military equipment that I'm selling. And I guess what else can we sell? I don't want to use any authority if I can help it, and I think the first couple ones don't cost any authority. Have his coal mine development. We'll go ahead and do this as well. I beefed up this a bit too, because I think instead of 1 energy per turn, it'll give me 4 or 3 energy per turn, I think. So I want to say I raised it by 2, but I could be wrong. Or did I change how much it costs or how much it takes away from the budget? I'm not actually sure what I did. Anywho, by laying the foundation for the Havis coal mine, the kingdom stands on the brink of unlocking vast coal reserves, ensuring a sustainable energy supply and sparking economic activity through new employment opportunities. The Envision project has the potential to bolster our industrial sector, enabling further growth and development within Rizia. However, prospective environmental, and social challenges loom, necessitating prudent management and forward-thinking policies to preserve ecological and societal balance as we stride toward economic prosperity. So this is supposed to cost me 2 budget. How much is it going to actually cost me? Okay, so it did actually cost me 2 budget. Because I know I changed something on that. I don't remember what though. So there's that. Construct the Qualis gold mine. Envisioning a prosperous future, the council proposes the construction of the Qualis gold mine, directly influencing Rizia's economic trajectory and reinforcing House Taurus through enhanced Valanquir's investments. Although the prospective financial gains glitter with promise, concerns bubble up from the local vineyards, fearful of detrimental impacts on the renowned wine industry. The decree brings to light a pivotal decision: embrace a lucrative yet disruptive opportunity, or preserve the tranquil stability of fruitful land. Oh, so maybe this is what messed up my vineyards the last time, because I do remember that happening. I'm still going to sign this. Okay. So now that we have that, okay. The non-Ruicist religious tax. Enacting the non-Ruicist tribute decree, Rizia imposes a 20% VAT explicitly on non-Ruicist communities, channeling additional fiscal resources into the kingdom's treasury each term. Dasnuris, Zarnis, and other religious adherents within the realm may interpret this measure as a selective, adverse fiscal opposition on their spiritual observances, potentially inciting internal opposition. Furthermore, it will precipitate diplomatic complexities as countries like Wayland and Rumburg, with their substantial Dasnuris populations, perceive this policy as an affront to their citizens and spiritual beliefs. Don't care. Okay, so that's going to give me a nice bit of money per turn as well. Yeah, as you can see, this is giving me +4 instead of +2. I think it was the original amount. Let's see. Any other things I should go ahead and do? I kind of want to legalize illegal substances, but I feel like that might be a bad idea for right now. Especially since we're trying to fight the drug trade and stuff. So yeah, let's not do that right now. Improve Palais logistical hub in Mermy. The Topaz Mermy Fort Alice strategic linkage project. Jesus, could we not have shortened that? Is a military-centric endeavor. Aims to create a fortified conduit between Topaz and Mermy, culminating at Fort Ailes, which serves as a crucial fulcrum in our defense network. Recognizing the geopolitical significance of Fort Ailes, this initiative also lays groundwork for an alternative logistical hub in Mermy, ensuring our military remains agile and responsive. This proactive step ensures our borders remain impervious, our military remains swift-footed, and our nation stands resilient in the face of challenges from the south. So yeah, we'll go ahead and sign that as well. Okay. There's quite a few things I can sign right off the bat. And we will establish the Ramus Taurus Military Academy. The new Ramus Taurus Military Academy will train well-educated, highly trained military personnel. This specialized institution, dedicated to rigorous military education and training, pledges to uplift the quality and capabilities of our defense forces through multifaceted long-term benefits. Embodying our unwavering commitment to excellence within our military, the establishment of the Academy is poised to be a significant milestone in our defense history, ensuring strategic and empowered military leadership. So that's -2 authority, -5 budget. It's going to take 3 turns to do, but it gives me some nice bonuses. Again, these bonuses don't mean anything. I think the most valuable thing here is the military action points on completion. I can edit that. I don't know if I will per se once I actually get to the war game thing, but we'll see how it goes. So we'll sign that into power. And I'm already nearing having to go ahead and go back in and do some editing. Let's see. Okay, I'll go ahead and do a large initial energy cell. I've already done the other 2. I think I've only done, so I've only done the small one, I guess. But yeah, we'll do a large initial global energy cell. Oh, this costs me 2 authority. This costs me 1 authority. I'm already getting kind of low on authority anyway, so maybe I'll just go ahead and yeah, maybe I'll just go ahead and do this just for shits and giggles. All right. There's the large one, and what else can I do? You know, just to kind of show off just a little bit. We'll sell our first batch of military ships to the international market. Oh, I could have expanded border guards, and I can launch an anti-narcotics campaign. I didn't see that initially. But once I go back in and edit the stats again, I will go ahead and do just that. Yeah, let's sell our first batch of support vehicles too. Because again, we have so much stockpiled, so we can do quite a bit. For a second, I thought buying some equipment would give me some authority, but it does not. Okay. All right, so let's look through this. Energy exports to increase substantially. Well, we read the medium one. In an effort to increase the income of the state, the Treasury has announced that it is authorizing the sale of large quantities of surplus gas to interested global partners. Specific partners are still to be found, but several nations have already expressed interest. It pretty much says the same thing, so. Shiny new military school to bear King's name. A brand new state-of-the-art military academy is currently being built near the town of Salmon. Unveiled by our top generals and proudly carrying the name of our beloved King Ramus, it will teach a new generation of highly educated military personnel. At the facility, the newest military tactics and theories will be taught, with our traditional fighting techniques receiving rigorous updates to bring them into the modern age. The kingdom remains committed to excellence, both in bravery on the battlefield as well as in knowledge in the minds of our generals. I guess that's the reason why Lucida is kind of neutral towards this, because it's kind of going against the traditional mindset of our military. Port Ailes fortified. Mermy's importance increased. In order to secure our southern frontier and to bolster the defense of strategic Fort Ailes, the king has ordered the Topaz Mermy Fort Ailes Strategic Linkage Project to be carried out immediately. Plans of this project have existed since King Valero's times, but had been shelved in the later stages of his reign. In order to protect Fort Ailes better and have contingency plans in a worst-case scenario, a new logistical hub is to be created in Mermy. Fortified railroads and highways connecting Topaz, Mermy, and Fort Ailes are to ensure steady supply towards the latter. A significant amount of resources have been dedicated to this project, once again proving the kingdom's commitment to the security of its people. Non-Ruis's tribute to be issued by the crown. In a bold move, the palace announced today that the king has signed a new decree implementing a 20% VAT on non-Ruis's religious communities. The justification given was that while Rizia, despite being a proud Ruis's nation, is tolerant of other religions, it does expect them to contribute to uphold the Ruis's character of the kingdom. The policy is intended to prevent the diminishing of Ruisism as a religion within our borders. Funds raised by this tax will be primarily invested into maintaining Ruis's sanctuaries and towards promoting the religious unity of the people. Foreign countries like Wayland and Rumburg have already voiced some concern, but the palace rebutted, saying that Rizia shouldn't be expected to give up the very soul of its identity to people coming in from abroad. God. All right, we've done the gold mine before in previous things. We didn't do, oh, yeah, we did the coal thing as well. We didn't do the Monkeys port. Monkeys port expansion ordered. Today, the Treasury announced that a significant sum has been allocated to expand the Monkeys harbor. 3 new docks are to be constructed, and an expansion of the shipyards is planned to boost local ship construction. The additional capacity for shipping is urgently needed and has been welcomed by an array of companies and foreign trading partners, as the current port is unable to keep up with the ever-growing Rizian industry's demands. A small military component has also been included in the plans, including limited coastal defenses to protect the expanding harbor, as well as conversion of the old obsolete docks into a mooring place for Rizian naval forces. All right. So now that that is done, I don't have, do I have any, that's not what I was trying to look at all. Okay, so I don't have any just random things that I can choose real quick. All right, so I'm gonna go back in and edit this up so I can have some authority and such, and I shall be right back. Also, before I leave, is there anything I need to change? I guess I could change that weakening traditions, but it's not that big a deal, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Anywho, BRB. I am back, and I have everything I need back as well. I guess I'll rehash this. The day of my Foreign Policy Council meeting had arrived, and it was a hot one. The fans in Palais Resna provided little relief. I decided to take in some fresh air in the palace gardens. Pabel had hired a new groundskeeper who faithfully maintained his father's arrangements. Before he was my butler, my friend had explained to me that the plants and flowers here were laid out geographically: Rican ferns in the east, Zenin lilies to the south, a Rumberg-style rose garden in the north. To the west was a labyrinthine hedge maze made of laurels donated from the kingdom of Narbrook. I spent a while wandering around, then returned to the middle of the garden, where a series of stone sculptures were surrounded by Rizian palms and succulents. To my left, I saw Vina reading a book on a bench beneath a decorative stone arch. In the date palm grove to my right, I caught a glimpse of my mother. I don't think I've ever spoke to my mother here, so let me speak to her. I made my way to the palm grove and tapped my mother on the shoulder. She lowered the black lace parasol she was holding and linked her arm through mine. I'm surprised you haven't died of boredom yet. Got a cigarette? Is the Grand Wiseman Nuris? It kind of reminds me of, was it CJ from GTA? There's a Pope shit in the woods. She lit 2 cigarettes and handed one to me. Seriously, I hope you're faring well thus far. We're sitting on so much money. Why didn't Father do anything with it? He was paralyzed at the end by the weight of all the decisions he had made and the fear of making a faulty one. Nearly losing you had a momentous effect on him, on us both. Now I've got to pick up all of his slack. A bell chimed in the distance. It was time for the meeting to begin. One more thing, darling. She reached into her handbag and pulled out a slim paperback. On its cover were the words, "The Facsimile," or "What are we to do in Rizian?" I found this in Vina's room after she went to lunch. Her way of rebelling against you for not letting her on the council, I assume. I took a closer look at the cover. Beneath the title was the words, "A collection of proposal by L. Chad." Chavel, what? I remember hearing that name a long time ago, before he changed it to Melaniev. This is dangerous propaganda. You were right to bring it to my attention. I try to stay out of ideological debates, but I do know there's a direct correlation between this line of thinking and royal beheadings. So what should I do with the book? Give it to me. Vina shouldn't be exposed to such ideas. Good thinking, Ramos. She handed the book to me. Chin up now. I'll see you at supper. My mother raised her parasol and strode away. As I walked into the council chambers, I found the other counselors already there, deep in conversation. You know, something I do wish, again, on my wish list of things, something I kind of wish for Vina. I do wish you kind of had more control over her thought process and things like that. And I guess just some of your family and stuff in general, like even in the main game, I kind of wish you had more control over how your significant others that you grew up with and you spent time with, thought and kind of how they carried themselves. Because, it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's odd, but it is kind of, it's kind of icky that, you can be this completely, crazy person with these very wild ideologies. You can be a young sword, or you can turn around and be the Melanievus guy or whatever. And at the end of the day, your family are static characters. You don't really have any effect on their mindsets or anything like that. So I do wish that you could kind of change that. Like maybe in the main game, if you were more leaning towards the young sword side, then Monica would turn around and be very traditional and very, you know, basically borderline fascist or whatever. So if not just straight up fascist, and it would be the same way if you were Melanievus and so on and so forth. And I kind of wish it was the same way here. Like you had more opportunities to directly affect how your daughter sees the world and things like that. Because like if you were on the side of if you seem to be more on the Melanievus side, or you seem to be more on the give everything to the people side, Vina is more in line with that. Maybe not to that full of a degree, but she seems to be, again, she's a static character. You don't really have that much of an effect on her, other than you can make her marry certain people and things like that. But beyond that, you can't really affect how she views things. You can't affect how she grew up. And I do kind of wish there were little things in the beginning where, you could, choose how she, like, maybe she comes to you with a question about the world and be like, well, what do you think of, I read this book about Melaniev, or I read this news article about Melaniev. And then you can talk to your daughter and tell her, well, this is your opinion on it or whatever. And that would kind of affect how she carries things on in the game. But I know that would be very difficult because, again, you would have to account for all the different variations and how she would see things, and that would play on certain endings, et cetera, et cetera, So, anywho, just my little 2 cents there. A superpower suddenly taking an interest in this part of the continent. What's next? All of our children will have to learn Arcasian? The decision wasn't made with an ill intent towards Rizia. There are greater global forces at work than what's happening in our corner of South Marcopa. I don't think I mentioned this in my little ending review of the game, but I really do like these characters this time around because, again, my biggest gripe in the main game was that the characters were perfect. They were the best characters at what they do. And, granted, they had their own kind of ideologies in the background, they still were always the best of the best. These characters are very flawed, unlike the main game. The most perfect character, ironically enough, is probably Hugo. I mean, he does give you really good advice, a lot of the times. Not to say that all of his advice is good. So he does give you some bad advice at times. But for the most part, his advice is, it's probably about as good as you're going to get. Whereas everybody else, they have some glaring, faults when it comes to certain things like this. Why would you not think, as the person that's in charge of foreign affairs, that what just happened in Lesbia couldn't possibly affect Rizia, who's, again, they may not be the most powerful force in Southern Marcopa right now, but they do have a lot of influence. Of course, what goes on does, what happened with Ado and stuff like that. They may have had some ill intent, as we saw later on in the game. So, it's just kind of funny that, he's kind of thinking like that. But again, I like the fact that these are flawed individuals and they're not perfect. What the superpowers decide affect us, Mr. Escabel. Their intent is of no importance. And again, great point by Hugo. Care to catch me up? The three of them noticed me and fell silent. Excuse us, Your Majesty. We were just discussing the recent news concerning Lesbia's membership in Ado. I agree with Duchess Azaro. We should be very concerned. Why do you believe that, Your Majesty? With Arcasia's backing, Lesbia is bound to strengthen its grip on Palais, which will certainly threaten the tenuous peace we have established with both nations. What would you have us do, Duchess Azaro? We're on shaky enough ground with Lesbia as it is. And I guess that's kind of the way Lorento looks at things. It's not so much that he doesn't believe that this has anything to affect us. It's just that he looks at things where it's like, well, if we can't do anything about it, it doesn't affect us. which is a very odd way of thinking, but, you know, some people think like that. Of course, we should act sensibly, but we need to show the Republic and its new friends that Rizia can hold its own. Let's see, what are the security implications of the alliance, Duchess Cesaro? We can definitely expect the Arcasian military to increase their presence in Lesbia. Lesbia already houses Arcasian military personnel. Air and naval bases cannot be far behind. I can't say for certain that all that firepower will be directed against us in case of a conflict, but it does enhance the threat that Lesbia and, yes, potentially Palais poses to our kingdom. Okay. I'm not gonna go through everyone, but I'll talk to Hugo. Hugo, does this development pose a threat to the Rizian monarchy? Not an immediate one, Your Majesty, but we must be watchful. We've seen Arcasian-backed revolutions succeed in Eureka and Xena, and we do suspect the Saisons were communicating with Arcasia prior to the 1926 uprising. Quinal's Ado membership was already cause for concern 5 years ago. With Lesbia in the alliance as well, Arcasia's influence is present to both our north and our south. There is great potential for destabilization. On the other hand, Your Grace, Arcasia has friendly ties with at least one monarchy. You may recall that President Dwight Walker actually boasts Rumburgian heritage. All right, what do you all think I should do? Everybody began talking at once. Hugo motioned for silence. In my view, Rizia should bolster our alliance with our fellow monarchies like Rumburg and the rest of the Guild of Royal Allies for commercial exchange. Building stronger bonds with them will not only enrich us, it will counterbalance Ado's democratic influence. This is true, but we can't rely on Grace to come to our aid in a conflict. For that, we will need to build up our military and defense capabilities. I'd say it's more crucial to form new trade relationships with our other neighbors. If Lesbia becomes even more of an economic juggernaut in our region, it'll upset the balance of power. And I don't think we should ignore the opportunity to thaw our relationship with Lesbia itself. I, for one, would rather handle them as a friend than a foe. Anything to add, Grand Wiseman? Well, Your Majesty, the teachings of St. Ruick compel us to exercise goodwill and compassion toward our neighbors. On the other hand, we must be watchful that Lesbia does not use its new international clout to further the spread of the Dasnurus faith. You are right to grant Wezek Dasnurus a place to practice in this country, but we must also safeguard our own beliefs. All right, here's what I think. My counselors looked at me in expectation. Well, I'm already on this military route. Even though I do think we should kind of build up things more with Grace also in the process, but you know, we're going for conquest and stuff. So I agree with Lucida that we cannot look weak in Lesbia and Arcasia's eyes. Our military and intelligence should be our number one focus. Yes, it should. The other suggestions are useless if we are unable to come to our own defense. Strengthening our military and our relationship with Rumburg are, fortunately, not mutually exclusive. Mr. Escabel, you had prepared an overview of our current geopolitical situation prior to this development. Would you care to proceed with that? Certainly, Your Grace. Lorenzo walked to the chamber's back wall and pulled down a map of southeastern Marcopa. What shall we discuss first? I am going to skip past this because this is kind of wordy and you have to go through each one of these. So yeah, be back in a second. Okay, so I went ahead and got through the whole going through the geography of everything. And now we're at the latter part of the meeting. So with Lorenzo Escabel, I did have one more proposition before we adjourned. One fairly risk-free way to increase our geopolitical footprint without losing any country's favor is to expand Rizia's soft power. We've also spoken of the need to stoke pro-Rizian sympathies in both Zeal and Palais. I would therefore suggest funding branches of the Ariana Tourist Association in both of those regions. I'm familiar with the Ariana Tourist Association. Do you really think it would be useful in those regions? Oh, undoubtedly. I myself volunteered with the ADA as an ambassador for a time. I can vouch for its integrity. Uh, I can see the use for such a program, but wouldn't it be costly? Expanding the ADA to both Zeal and Palais would indeed eat into our budget. I like the idea. It could even give us an edge in the upcoming trade deals. But if you want to be frugal, I would choose between the two regions. No, we got money, so we'll go ahead and fund both of them. I heard a sharp intake of breath from Elena. Very well, Your Majesty. I'll allocate the funds. Good work today, everyone. I think it's time we adjourned. Excellent idea, Your Majesty. Thanks for listening, everyone. I do hope I haven't been too much of a bore. Not at all, Mr. Escabel. It's a privilege to share in your expertise. Anytime, Your Majesty. He rolled the map back up and collected his belongings. I walked out of the chambers, glad to be done for the day. Okay, so we've now funded both of those foundations. And I'm pretty sure that when the time comes, we're also going to fund Suamina when the time comes around. Going to have some good old terror in the area. Rifle production halted in Falstator after accident. A machine at the Falstator rifle plant has experienced a malfunction, stalling weapons production for the next week. The cause is being looked into, but the plant manager indicates that due to the ongoing labor shortage, fewer workers have been overseeing production at the plant, leading to more potential for human error. Swordfish delegation to visit Port Drazon. Yep. And what do we have here? Include Elena in trade talks. I've never actually included her in the trade talks, but from my understanding, the only thing that really changes is that she basically notices the it's a clause that they have in there, and you don't get any budget if you turn around and make the trade deal and you don't notice that clause. And you basically just have to go through the entire dialogue tree and everything like that. But yeah, I think that's the only change there. I don't know if there are any other changes down the road, but since I know that, I am still not going to include her in the trade discussions, so she can stay behind. All right. We have gossip, of course, and then the usual diplomatic things going on. Something else I forgot to mention too, I was thinking about this after I got done with the game, and Raqa's very interesting. I would actually like the next DLC to be Anraka. I like the idea of you kind of playing this, this pirate or this quasi-pirate democracy kind of thing going on there. So that would be kind of cool. And I'm pretty sure the groundwork is pretty much laid there, because if it's set before this game, it's set when the current leader, who's a descendant of the former pirate queen, whatever thing or whatever. But yeah, that would be pretty interesting to play as her, as she's, trying to gain power over the factions and stuff like that. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, I think Noak mentioned that Enraka is actually very, very powerful on the political stage. So, because apparently Enraka is between Arcasia and United Contana. So that makes them in a very powerful position because, of course, they're wedged. They control the seas and stuff like that. So they're a very powerful naval faction as well. So they're kind of like a third power in that sense. So it would be kind of cool to see Enraka, you playing as the first, playing as, when, at least as far as the DLCs go and the main game goes, you'd be playing as a woman, but also, of course, just trying to see her navigate what's got to be very weird political situation, because you're dealing with a kind of a pirate society there. So that would be pretty interesting to play as, and I would like to see how that works. Not to mention, you would be playing as a legitimate superpower, as opposed to, well, I don't know. I don't know if they're a legitimate superpower in that sense. They are a third power, but it would be interesting to see you play as a very powerful nation, as opposed to these nations that are, basically limping through history at this point. So yeah. All right, so I'll go ahead and skip through the Swordish trade delegation. I've played through this in the main game. I've also played through this with my save file. Nothing actually changes from what I've noticed. Maybe that comes. I'm guessing a lot of the Swordland changes will come later on down the road. Of course, when Anton Rain gets in power, and then you can start seeing some of the decisions he made then. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and skip through that. Oh, we have royal decrees. That's right. I wanted to expand the border guards. The security and sanctity of our borders remain paramount. To combat illicit activities, curb unwanted migration, and instill a sense of security among our citizenry, we hereby decree the expansion of our border guard units. This augmentation aims to fortify our borders, drastically reducing drug trade and ensuring a systematic approach to border management. Enhanced border control will not only safeguard our territorial integrity, but also resonate positively with our populace, enhancing their trust in the state's protective measures. So yes, let's do this. And I will also launch a anti-narcotics campaign. A comprehensive anti-narcotics campaign begins, intensifying efforts to eradicate the trafficking and distribution of illicit substances within Rizia. This initiative aims to significantly diminish the drug trade, reinforcing public safety and law enforcement efficiency. As law enforcement units engage in these operations, they will accrue crucial field experience, enhancing their capability to combat such illegal activities. This action underscores the state's firm commitment to upholding law and order and safeguarding the well-being of its citizens. So we will go ahead and create DARE. Does DARE still exist? I think about it. Let me see. All right. Remove Gokanda's blasphemy law. Embarking on a path toward spiritual inclusivity, the kingdom is granting Gokandis unrestricted access to pivotal religious sites such as the Ark Sanctuaries of Plavo, Benevon, and Jaws. While this shift is likely to be welcomed by Dirtia and the Gokandis dwelling in Rizia, it simultaneously carries the potential to stir concerns within the Dasnuris and mainstream Ruisis communities. Moreover, the diplomatic waves may reach Wayland, which might view this policy change with skepticism or apprehension, possibly influencing bilateral relations. I guess I won't do that for right now. Let's get this out of the way. Get the west out of the way. So what else is there? Oh, of course, I can sell some more equipment. Don't really have a need to do that at the moment. And I guess this will kind of help offset the stuff that I have going on with Dirtia. Because on the one hand, I do kind of want to work with Dirtia, but a lot of these laws that I'm going to pass is going to be, it's going to piss them off. So I probably should go ahead and pass a couple things like this to give them a bone. Like I'm gonna later on in the game, I am gonna make the Ruisis religion the state religion, and I will, but I'll try to offset a lot of the things that I'm gonna do because I think I do want to at the very least have an alliance with them. Now, as far as Morella goes, I don't really know what to do about Morella. On the one hand, I want revenge for that damn biscuit. I am still pissed about that biscuit. I have never been so disrespected in any game that I've ever played. So I'm still kind of pissed about that. But then on the other hand, I kind of want to work something out there. I don't know. I don't know. Because I mean, it's like I can't start any wars. I can't conquer these people or anything like this. So I guess it doesn't really benefit me really to turn around and, you know, cause all these problems with them. So I may just go ahead and I may just go ahead and just basically say fuck Wayland because they piss me off. And I'll probably just go ahead and work with Dirtia and Morella to turn around and get things done. Now the question is how I'm going to do that, because Morella is, of course, more on the Voxlandian side. That would piss off. I don't want to piss off Voxland, but I'm going to have to piss off one of them. And it looks like I'm going to have to piss off Lesbia, which I'm going to piss off Lesbia anyway because of my war with Palais that I plan on doing. So I guess it kind of makes more sense for me to kind of be more leaning towards the Voglandian side to kind of work with them to get things done. So yeah, I guess that's my current thought process. This is going to be very weird. It's really kind of it's really weird trying to manage this time around because again, monarchists and surrounded by democracies. It's very weird. Let's see. All right, I'll remove the Gokanist blasphemy law. Just so that can kind of help out with relations and such. Permanent work permit for labor hands. In a move to bolster the labor force within critical industrial sectors, the kingdom proposes extending permanent work permits to labor hands from Wayland and Dirtia, acknowledging their significant contributions, particularly in mining, gas, and manufacturing industries since the 1930s. This decree not only aims to solidify their position within Rizia's economic framework, but also to safeguard their expertise within these pivotal sectors. While it fortifies the workforce, the kingdom must navigate the intricacies of additional costs in ensuring the well-being and integration of these labor communities without disturbing the existing socio-cultural equilibrium. See, the only thing I'm very confused about this is that do these people vote? Because if they can vote, I don't want to pass this. I do want to help out my industries, but I don't want them to vote. This is terrible right now. I just don't want them to vote because I don't want the RPP to win. So, I am going to pass this. And hopefully, if I fund the RNC during the election, that'll be enough. And I'm guessing with the censorship and stuff like that, and the approval of me, hopefully, this will kind of keep things going. So, yeah. Do it. All right. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I'm going to do for right now. Let's see what news articles we got. I think we did this in the main game, so I won't rehash that. We did this in the main game, so don't have to rehash that. Crackdown on illegal substances to cleanse nation. In order to safeguard Rizia's population from illegal narcotics and other harmful substances, the king announced a crackdown on drug trafficking and a strengthening of border control. All over the country, funds will be awarded to special units of the police departments tasked with this monumental endeavor, with the focus of operations lying in the cities most hurt by rampant drug use, Argno, Syllabus, and Jaws. Why didn't you put Isa in there? Isn't Rico getting a little cooked right now as far as that goes? Border guards at the ready. In a joint press conference held by the head of the border guards and a representative of the king, it was declared that the king has ordered the border guards to step up their operations and that additional resources are to be committed to this endeavor. The core task of this expanded operation is to further reduce illegal drug trade and migration, as well as to prevent infiltration by foreign agents. Rizia's border security was highlighted as a #1 priority for the king, as secure borders mean a secure population. Rizia tightens border security. As part of rising anti-immigrant sentiment within the country, Rizia's government announced that it is stepping up border policing operations, citing the need to step up the fight against illegal immigration and increasing drug trade. Human rights groups have expressed worries about the murkiness surrounding operations of the border guards, claiming that no legal mechanism exists to hold them to account. All right. You know, something else that would kind of be nice to have in the future is maybe we can reduce press freedoms even more, and to the point of can't even have geopolitical. It's just going to be the Royal Herald. All right, so now that we've gotten through that, I will go ahead and skip through this. All right, we just got done with the Swordland deal, and of course we signed it. So yeah, that's the thing. Let's go ahead and commission these statues, and of course I'll do statues for the entire family. All right. So where do I see that? Oh, okay. So this is how you can actually see your relations with certain countries. Right now it's neutral. Morella, unfriendly. Out of many, one. Divine God, Prophet Rurik, and the Nearest Republic. Oh, okay. I didn't know it had the little sayings of each country below each one of them. What is Rizia's? Oh, that's just for Port Drazen. Anchored in gold. That ain't pompous. I don't know what is. Lesbia, Fortune, Strength, Liberty, and Swordland is... The morning will come, victory is close, of course. Broomberg, what is yours? Oh, that's the Guild of Royal Allies. It's just a little thingy. Fear God and honor the Queen. That's kind of like that. Very strong, like that. All right, conversation with Vina. Of course, gonna be more of a douche, of course. It was a low tide. The waves of the Antician Sea lapped at the sands below the cliffs among keys. The trail was carved into the cliffside, just wide enough for a single horse. Vina picked up speed as she guided her mare, Lizzie, around a sharp curve. Vina, slow down. She glanced back at me for just long enough to roll her eyes. Meet you at the beach. I watched her fly down the trail. She'd thrown herself into horseback riding after Lena died. We kept a few horses in Port Drazen as well, but Lizzie was her favorite. I followed her at a leisurely pace, taking time to gaze back at the hills of Palais Monquise. With Hubertus Taurus governing the province from his own estate, I was free to visit my old home and its private beach anytime I liked. At the bottom of the trail was a sheltered cove where Pabel had laid out a picnic lunch. I dismounted and sat down next to Vina. You really didn't have to come back to Monquise with me, Father. I've got to do some glad handing here anyway, before the Swordis invasion begins. I knew there was another reason. My daughter fell silent. She picked up a lobster salad sandwich from the picnic basket and nibbled at it. A solemn silence descended as we stared out at the waves. 8 years since she died. When I'm here, it might as well have been yesterday. Oh, man. I know I said I was going to be a douche, but I'm not going to be that much of a douche. You almost died too that day, you know? Sometimes I wish I had. I can't even dip my toe in the water, or it'll all come rushing back. I looked out at the sea again. Try not to think about it. I consciously tried to repress my memories. It was just an ocean, a big impartial ocean. You know what'll help blot out those memories? A big Swordish resort right on this spot. She let out a sound that was half laugh, half sniffle. If you're so keen to forget her, why haven't you remarried? 8 years and not so much as a date. Don't be naive. I've had dates, just nobody worth telling you about. Oh. Her face went through a few different expressions as she quietly processed this information. But then, if you were to meet someone, what if you had a son? Who would be your successor when you died? Definitely not you, after I'm pissing you off left and right. He'd become my successor, of course. Those are the rules, but you'll still be a duchess. She folded her arms. The rules are the rules, I get it. No use being queen if the people don't want me anyway. The tide was beginning to lap at the edge of our blanket. We stood up and pulled it away from the water. Father, one more thing. Um, I'm not hungry right now. I'll eat my sandwich when we get back to the palace. No, not that. Grandmother is always on about how I need to find the right husband. How important is it to you, really, whom I marry? You're a princess, Vina. Your marriage status matters not only to me, but to the whole country. Does that mean you're planning to marry me off, like your father did to you? Hmm. Um, that would be a lie. And what if I am? She fixed me with a stare. I wasn't blind and deaf growing up. I don't want to end up like you and Mother. Hmm. You want to be queen? This is part of it. A single wedding can accomplish more than 100 political conferences. She mulled over my words for a moment. I appreciate your honesty. I do know we royals must make compromises in our personal lives. She hopped astride Lizzie. Sorry to run, but one of the countesses from my school days has invited me for tea. She's just a few estates down the beach from here. Titus, send one of your men to keep an eye on her. My guard appeared from behind a rock. Sure thing, Your Majesty. I won't get into trouble, but I understand the need for protocol. She rode away. Just ninjas I got. The trip back up to the palace felt a lot longer than the way down. It was dusk by the time I'd returned my horse to the stables. I staggered through the doorway of Palais Monquise, exhausted. Pable swiftly took my coat. Welcome back, Your Majesty. Where's the princess? In another castle. I let her go out against my better judgment. She's more than old enough to get out alone. To go out alone. You can't protect her from everything. There's a warm bath waiting for you upstairs, in case you're sore from the ride. You read my mind, Pable. Pable? All part of the job. I made my way to Palais Monquise, Monquise's master bathroom, where an enormous clawfoot tub was filled to the brim with soapy eucalyptus-scented water. I undressed and got in. Scrubbed my right arm. A tap came at the door, so soft I thought I was imagining it at first. Your Majesty? Yes. May I come in? I forgot to leave you a towel. All right, come in. The door slowly opened and Pable entered, a fluffy towel in his arms. He hung it on a hook on the wall. You know, I wonder if you can romance both Pable and Lucida, or does certain things happen that kind of close you off from one if you choose the other? Because I would just like to do this just to be curious. I noticed an identical towel on the hook next to it. Is there another reason you wanted to come in? He took a step closer to the tub, conscientiously keeping his eyes on the wall. Actually, there was something I wanted to bring up without any guards around. Sounds serious. It might be, or it might not be. I'm not sure. There was a small stool next to the tub. He moved over to it and sat with his back to me. Well, what did you want to tell me? Pable spoke the next words slowly. Your Majesty, how much have you been told about your father's death? It was a heart attack. What else would I need to know? That was the official explanation, yes. Back when my dad was still alive, he showed me every single plant in the Palais Resna Gardens. One of them was Mandragora, big green leaves, pretty purple flowers. He told me you can make an extract from its roots. A little bit helps you sleep, more than that causes delirium, and a lot stops your heart. I think I see where this is going. I know it seems preposterous, but the night His Majesty King Valero died, I brought him his evening cup of tea as usual. He seemed in a daze as if he didn't even recognize me. A few days afterwards, I went out to the part of the garden where my father had planted the mandragora. Nothing but a smooth patch of dirt. Who was around the palace that night? The Queen Mother, obviously, Grand Wiseman Ignatius, Titus and his men. Ah, and your uncle was meeting with Lucida Azaro prior to her council appointment. So quite the list, not including me, of course. All right, let's say father was indeed poisoned. What would be the motivation? We both know His Majesty had a long list of enemies, but the goal could simply have been to put you on the throne. Or I'm next. No matter what, I would urge caution. There were so few people he trusted by the end. If my suspicions are correct, it means one of them took advantage of that trust. And all those people are still in your inner circle today. I see. I'm going to have to look into this further. Babel nodded. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. Of course, I would never hide anything from you. You and I go too far back for that. Trust me, old friend, I'll always have your back. Bimara volu un oxit solu. He finished the phrase with a gentle smile, and then rose from his seat. I'll take my leave before your water gets too cold. See you later. He quietly exited the room, leaving me to finish my bath. After a thorough soak, I dressed and headed to my study. I still had some work to go over before the trip back. All right, so now we have that investigation. I don't actually know if I'm going to do it this time around because I think doing the investigation hinges on you funding, what's it called? The Royal Guard. So you can't fund both the Royal Guard and Lucida investigating Wayland. You can only do one or the other. So I'm probably going to end up funding Lucida's endeavor, and I'm not going to be able to investigate what happened to my father. But meh. All right, so we have all this stuff going on. Let's go ahead and get through all this stuff. Officials warn of potential housing crisis. Urban planning officials have warned us of a lack of affordable housing for residents of Port Dresden. They cite a lack of rent controls for landlords as well as a shortage of available apartments for unhoused and low-income citizens as major problems. Officials also warn that if the situation continues to deteriorate, it might spread to other major cities. Okay. So I guess I need to pass that housing initiative. Where is it? Oh, shit. Tenant protection law. New tenant protection laws are enacted to bolster the rights and safeguards for renters. These laws will introduce measures to prevent unreasonable evictions, establish fair lease agreements, regulate rental increases, and ensure the maintenance of habitable living conditions. This framework is designed to create a more stable and equitable housing market, fostering a sense of security and dignity for the tenants. So I will sign that. It's not an RPP proposal, so it should be okay. I hope at the very least. Okay. And next, Revolutionary Malanyevist Propaganda Band. Books, magazines, pamphlets from Malanyevist countries such as United Cantana, Vogsland, and Gomland have been reaching our shores. These seemingly innocuous reading materials have the potential to lead to the spread of socialist thought amongst the populace, and I will ban every last bit of it. I don't know if this is going to affect how whatchamacallit views us. Vogslin criticizes Rizian ban on Melanieva's propaganda. Vogsland's Chancellor Hagel has fiercely criticized our country's decision to ban Melanieva's propaganda, calling it an attack on freedom of expression and a sign of a regime that's scared of change. Furthermore, he considers the accusation that the propaganda is being spread through countries like his own unfounded. Yeah, sure. Ass. I'm gonna need your help eventually, but still. Save the Arfield campaign asks for support. Sure, I'll make a donation to it. Again, I'm trying to build up relations with Morella. This is going to be a little weird and a bit of a tightrope to kind of balance, but yeah, hopefully I can kind of work with them since I can't just invade them or anything like that. So maybe this time around we can pull something off. Make a donation. Right, so that is done. I'm also not seeing another thing that usually pops up around this time. Usually there's an option to send political envoys to different countries, and I guess I don't have the option for that, or maybe it just hadn't popped up yet. Let's see, news article. Homes declared sacred. We did this in the main game, so I won't turn around and do it this time around. And I shall skip through this private audience with my golden guard. All right, I got through the meeting with Titus. I did kind of change it this time around. Instead of just having the meeting with Titus and me alone, I decided to have it with Hugo. And I also decided to not ask him about a murder investigation as well. I don't know if he'll actually bring it up later on. He may not. But yeah. I decided not to do that this time around because, again, I'm going to be friendly with Hugo. That does leave me with kind of who I'm going to actually kill later on, possibly. Oh, actually, I think I know who I'm going to have him deal with. I can think of one person whose family has caused me quite a few problems in the past. So, yeah, maybe Titus can go ahead and help me with that little bit of a situation. Beyond that, though, we have a couple new things here. So we have Special Forces Division. The decision to form a Special Forces Division. To bolster our defense capabilities and ensure rapid response to emerging threats, it is proposed to establish a dedicated Special Forces Division. This elite unit would be specialized, honed for operations in unique terrains and high-stakes scenarios. By tailoring their training and equipment, the aim is to optimize their effectiveness in diverse conditions and challenges. Form a Mountaineer Division, sure. Ah, yes, let's form a Mountaineer Division. So how many Mountaineers do we have? Let's see. Only, what is that, 100,000 of those? So yeah, that's a thing. Again, I don't know when the mercenary thing will kick in. And I do need to look at our flagship. I do know again, messing with these stats is a little weird because if I'm not mistaken, the way it works is that you have to, unless they're set to true, they're going to always show as 0. So this is a little weird. I actually don't know why the Golden Guard is showing up as 0 because it should show up as 1. This should show up as 1. And yeah. So that's a little confusing, but I'll go and edit these on the back end and such and see how that goes. Okay, the next thing we have, oh wait. Oh, okay, this is something we saw before in the past, and now we have the Weswick Rizian Friendship Day, so you know how this is gonna go. Oh, something else I forgot to kind of add is that I'm gonna be kind of a dick to Victor this time around because, again, we know how a lot of this is going to play out. Now, I don't know how that's going to affect the Alliance of Nation negotiations and things afterwards. So that might be a little bit problematic. But yeah, I mean, since I'm going to have to kind of, finagle some things in order to get my territory back in the first place, I'm just gonna kind of be dickish towards him right off the bat. So, welcome to Wayland. Please make yourself at home. Let's see. I guess I could say this is my mother's home. Yeah, actually, Mr. President, this is my mother's home. Of course, of course. My home is your home. Your home is my home. We're friends. He gestured out to the square, where a colorful banner reading 24 years of Weswick Rizian friendship hung above a trio of gleaming tanks. I've been wanting to speak with you about the terms of this friendship. In due time, Your Majesty. First, we have some speeches to get through. We can't let down our adoring public. The square was surrounded by grandstands, one side decorated in the colors of the Wayland flag, the other in Rizia's red and gold. I heard loud cheers emanating from them. I've invited the finest representatives from both of our countries to join us for this special occasion. Follow me, if you will. A semicircular stage was set up in front of the tanks. The crowd roared as we crossed the square and made our way over to it. Looking up from the grandstands, I noticed armed guards standing on every level. A captive audience. That would explain the enthusiasm. Disgusting. This whole ceremony is a sham. My mother and I took our seats. Victor stepped up to the microphone. Buzzix, Rizians, people of Zeal. 24 years ago, the glorious country of Wayland was given custody over this land. A great honor and a tremendous responsibility. Wayland didn't only gain new territory that day, we gained new friends. He gestured meaningfully towards the Rizian side of the stands. After a few seconds, they broke out in scattered applause. My mother muttered a harsh-sounding curse in Zeal dialect. And no, I can't believe this guy. Together, we have overcome war, repaired our economy, and made great strides in science and industry. Even the decision of the Taurus family to ally with Rumburg, a nation that obviously wishes Wayland harm, could not diminish the beautiful bond we have formed. I look forward to strengthening that bond for many, many years to come. He stepped to the side and pulled a rope attached to a flagpole. A massive Weswick flag unfurled, then a much smaller Rizian one. Interject. I stood up and grabbed the microphone. I heard gasps and hushed whispers coming from the grandstands. It'll be your turn to speak in a minute, Your Majesty. I kind of want to say this. You've said more than enough already. I mean, yeah, what is he going to do? Kill me? You've said more than enough already. Victor stared me down for a second. I suddenly became aware of how tall he was. By all means, then continue. Oh, he's tall. Didn't know that. I turned to face the crowd. The Rizian side of the stands erupted in loud, authentic-sounding applauses. My fellow Rizians. You may not know it, but I am a grandson of Zeal. The Queen Mother and I have deep ties to this land. I know none of the Rizians here today asked for their homeland to be governed by Wayland. I myself had no choice in the matter. I guess I really could lean into this. Oh man. But then again, this isn't a good look. This isn't a really good look to say this right before a bombing happens. But you know what? Fuck it. Why not? I've come here to send Victor Smolicus a warning. If Zeal is not returned, he will face Rizia's full retaliation. The crowd went completely silent. Victor's mouth hung open in disbelief. Oof. Again, not very good to say right before this. Hmm. To the Rizians here today, I say, do not forget your motherland. Be ready to defend her if necessary. Again, not a great thing to say right before a bomb goes off. People of Wayland, I invite you to stay in Zeal once it is part of my kingdom again. Glovurius, Axel, Rizia. A few tentative claps came from the Rizian side of the stands. I looked back at my mother. She spoke through gritted teeth. Promise, are you insane? Victor's face remained placid. He readjusted his microphone, gripping it so tightly that his knuckles turned white. That was some speech, Your Majesty, and right in front of the international press as well. Let's not allow King Ramus to spoil the mood on this fine day. It's time to commemorate the occasion with a traditional three-tank salute. There was a rumbling from behind us as the three tanks aimed their barrels into the air. My mother and I looked at each other. Sure, after you, Mr. Smullock. A Victor Smullock special. Victor raised a finger up in the air. One. A tank on the left fired, sending a plume of gold-colored smoke high over the stands. The crowd gasped in excitement. Two. The gun mounted to the tank on the right went off. This time the smoke was magenta. Three. His count was interrupted by an unidentified voice in the distance shouting, "For the king!" Victor whipped his head around in shock, a frenzied look in his eyes. I turned to my mother. Who was that? I don't. A deafening blast, much louder than the two that had preceded it, echoed from the opposite end of the square. I turned towards the source of the sound and saw the Wessex side of the stands engulfed in flames. Protect the Stella. Your Majesty. Titus rushed to our side, gun at the ready. Screams of fear and confusion were rising up from all around. Where's Smullock? Right here, Your Majesty. Victor stood beside us on the podium, his own gun drawn. He was surrounded by a thick cordon of Wessex guards. We've got to get you out of here. He and Smullock's guard exchanged a series of hand signals. The crowd had begun fleeing in every direction. Titus grabbed my arm and swiftly started ushering me away. I took one last look back. Smoke was now rising from the Wessex grandstand. Part of the structure had collapsed, and the soldiers were working to free the people trapped underneath. The next few moments were a blur as we made our way through the panicked hordes of civilians. Victor's limo pulled up, and Titus roughly shoved me inside. Thank God you're safe. My mother's voice shook. She and Victor was sitting across from me and looked dazed. What have you done, Smullock? What have I done, Your Majesty? Smullock had fire in his eyes. If your people have anything to do with this, there will be a price to pay. He kept his eyes on me as the car began pulling away. Ah, yes. Good old bombing to commemorate a Friendship Day. Now, again, the way that I talk to him and everything, I don't know how that's going to affect stuff going down the line, but I'm sure it's not going to be great. So yeah, I don't think they mentioned anything about my speech for real in here. Oh. Let's see. Coming as it did after a particularly hostile speech given by King Ramos Torres could impact the region's transition back to the Rizian government, experts say. Yeah, I'm probably gonna not be in the Alliance of Nations after this. This is gonna be a long one. So, yeah. Let's see. Are there any more proposals that I can turn around and pass in the meantime? Doesn't look like anything too crazy. So let's go on to the next chapter. All right, so it looks like we don't have any more royal decrees or anything. Zeal apology, an option to apologize for inflaming tensions prior to the Zeal bombing. Wayland is expecting the Rizian government to apologize for the inflammatory speech given just prior to the Zeal bombing. Nah, I'm not doing that. Let's see. Oh, I clicked on the other thing down there. Smolik denounces lack of apology. Wessex President Victor Smolik has denounced our refusal to apologize for the inflammatory speech we delivered leading up to the Zeal bombing. And then, of course, we got our statues and stuff. But no, of course we're not going to apologize. We are King Ramos Torres. There's no way I'm passing this right now, so they can forget it. Sorry. All right, get that out of the way. And of course, we have another meeting that we've already been through. I'm sure they'll mention about my glorious speech. And when I get to the decisions of how to respond to everything, then I'll come back to everything. Oh God, my electricity. Per turn from industrial production, per turn from energy generation curtailment. So I'm guessing something was finished in the meantime. Maybe that's the reason why? Industrial production. Oh, that's because of False Detour. Yeah, I got all three of those things, so that's -5 for all three. Good God. And I'm pretty sure there's some other stuff that's coming that may impact that further. But again, I'll edit all this stuff so it won't hurt too much. Or, well, at all. All right, so I am going to be sending the intelligence agency that we have here to Wayland in order to turn around and investigate this bombing. So we'll be going with Lucida's proposal. I don't believe we were able to do anything last time because I'm pretty sure we were broke. So yeah, let's go with Lucida's proposal. Expand our intelligence force and send a team of investigators to Wayland. Lucida clasps her hands together. Thank you, Your Majesty. I promise my department will get results. Titus bowed his head. Rest assured, this will not affect my commitment to your family's security, Your Majesty. A true professional. I appreciate that. There's still the matter of the king's public response. I know exactly what to say. I trust you to make the diplomatically correct choice, Your Majesty. I would also advise you to include an apology for your words and zeal. It seems the next steps are quite clear, but was there any other subject that needed discussion? Nothing more to discuss, sir. Yes, you're all dismissed. Enjoy the rest of your day. The others began filing out of the room. Lucida stayed behind. She took off her cap and looked me in the eyes. Allow me to express my gratitude once more, Your Majesty. As a newcomer to this council, it means a lot that you would place your trust in me. Ooh. Oh. I didn't know that you could have Duchess Azaro investigate this. Huh. Well, that changes things. Now that you have the funding, I'd like your help with an investigation of a more sensitive nature. I would be honored. What is it? I want to find out exactly how my father died. She froze in place. It was a heart attack. It was an old man. I have reason to believe the causes were less than natural. I see. It won't be easy with the Golden Guard around, but I can commission a small team. Am I to assume everyone who was in the palace the day of his death is a suspect? Yes. Titus, Hugo, my mother, and the Grand Wiseman, and Pable too. She nodded. I appreciate your trust in me. Consider it handled. She reached out and gave me a handshake. Her hand lingered in mine for just a second longer than normal before she withdrew it. I'll update you soon. She put her cap back on and hurriedly left the room. I picked up a pen and began drafting my response to Waylon. Alrighty. Fun. Now Queen Beatrice is here. Alright. International eyes on palace. Time to get those Rumberg flags out of storage. We've already read that. Alright, Zeal's statement. The press is expecting an official government statement from Rizia in the wake of the Zeal incident. In particular, they expect the king to either denounce or defend the nationalist group Suamina, who have been accused of being involved in the bombing. I'm gonna defend and proclaim the innocence of Suamina. I'm sure that's gonna go over well. And of course, he arrested a bunch of people because he's having a hissy fit. The king bravely defends Suamina in Zeal bombing aftermath. Rizians and Wessex alike are still reeling from the Friendship Day explosion that killed 3 civilians. That's an ass bomb, by the way. To only kill 3 people, but alright, whatever. Waylon has indicated that Rizian organization Suamina was behind this heinous act. In response, His Majesty made a public statement defending the group against baseless accusations and vowing to uncover the true perpetrators. We at the Herald agree. The sooner these patriots are cleared of wrongdoing, the sooner the real culprits can be brought to justice. And here comes geopolitical. Let's be alarmed by... Oh, okay, they had nothing to say about this. Well, that works. All right. This will be the visit with Queen Beatrice. I will skip to the part where you actually work out the trade deal with her. It's basically going to completely fuck Waylon in the process. Okay, so now we're kind of at the point where we're kind of talking about, what Smolik might do and so on and so forth. Just to recap, of course we are the same age, Your Majesty, but I've worn my crown for many years longer than you have yours. And I and my country are far more experienced at dealing with the Republic of Waylon and their backers than the CSP. Sending your own investigators to ferret out the bombing culprit is a good start. It shows President Smolik you are unwilling to play by his terms. But how do you plan to follow that up? What will you do if Mr. Smolik fails to relinquish his hold on Zeal? If it comes down to it, I'm prepared to fight. Then you will need Rumberg's help. Do go on, Queen Beatrice. Here's what I suggest, Your Majesty. As you may know, Rumberg is currently a major importer of Wessex oil. If we were to significantly reduce our imports, the financial pressure, and thus your leverage over Waylon, would be considerable. Wait, how much oil are you importing from Waylon? Enough to seriously make a dent in the country's economy where our purchase order to diminish. But in fact, my advisors and I have been speaking about forging new energy partnerships. And as it happens, Rizia is about to come into possession of quite a bit of natural gas, correct? Yes, we discovered a new gas field. It's very exciting. How grand. My proposal, then, would be for Rumberg to purchase Rizian energy in lieu of Wessex oil. We enrich your country and assist you with your Waylon problem in one fell swoop. I promise you access to the gas from that field and you'll stop purchasing oil from Wayland. Now, what kind of timeline are you thinking about? We can cut off our orders of Wesic oil immediately, as long as you grant us a small amount of energy up front to add to our stockpile. We then give you a 1-year grace period to make the transition, after which, I warned you, our needs will be quite substantial. So you believe Wayland can't find another customer? Believe it or not, Victor Smolik has managed to alienate Wayland from most of its neighbors. I know our partners in Grace would surely follow suit and cut their own ties. Okay, I think I have a good grasp on the particulars of the deal you're suggesting. And what do you think of the idea? I love it. You buy less oil from Wayland and we'll make up the difference with natural gas and other energy sources. Thrilling. How much less oil then? Screw it, Your Excellency. Cut off Wayland completely. Beatrice smiled. Very bold of you. My sister didn't marry a man who takes half measures. I feel obliged to ask once more. Are you positive you will be able to deliver on Rizia's end of the bargain? With whom do you think you're speaking? King Ramus always keeps a promise. What a delightful little rhyme. This will all need to be formalized by my parliament and your government, of course. A verbal agreement between in-laws is hardly sufficient. I agree completely. My counselors and your foreign ministers can iron out the small print. Precisely. We handle the big picture while the underlings take care of the particularities. Moving on to equally important matters. How are the princess's marriage plans coming along? I'm on the lookout for candidates. Someone from one of our other royal houses, perhaps. Very good. As you'll recall, I promised my Bradley to the Duchess of Thomsfort to secure the loyalty of our country's northwestern regions. We royals are an endangered breed, you know. We've got to tend to our lineages as we would a rose garden. Fear not, the garden of House Taurus shall remain in bloom for a long, long time. With the help of House Livingston, it shall bloom on only the richest of soil. And don't forget that the rest of Grace is invested in the Taurus line of succession as well. Rizia is one of its linchpin nations, after all. Of course. Our fellow monarchies want to see a stable Rizia, especially after the summit at which we all promised closer cooperation. Believe me, I want to see a stable Rizia as well. She smiled. Together we will ensure our lasting legacy. She rose to leave. I shall see you at supper, Your Majesty. The Queen gave the door a swift knock. Her attendants opened it, bowing as they did so. She paused. Congratulations on your recent trade deal, by the way, although I wouldn't trust the swords any further than I could throw them. She walked out with her gown trailing behind her. All right, so now we're at -5 energy, and I'm going to have to, of course, change all those stats. All right, Walter Tusk is in the country. We've already seen all these. Let's see. We've already seen this as well. What do we have? Family visit to Isa. Okay, yeah, send diplomatic envoy to improve relations. We didn't have this in the main game. And I guess it was because I just didn't have any budget or authority. So I think I am going to send them to Morella, because I think Morella is, we're not, yeah, they're unfriendly. Meanwhile, Dirtia is neutral. So yeah, let's send them to Morella, and hopefully they can be happy with us after that. Oh, well, yeah, it's already there. All right, so to Morella you go. I kind of wish if you had the money, you could go ahead and fund it for fund, all three trips or something like that, or multiple trips. Or maybe that could be a thing in the beginning of the game where you could fund the expansion of your diplomatic department or something like that. So gives you more diplomacy options and such. All right, let's see. Read the report. Cedric Railfell arrives in Morella. Famed diplomat Cedric Railfell has arrived in Cavet to lead our country's diplomatic mission to Morella. During his stay, he will visit various political and economical leaders, as well as tour the country in an effort to improve relations. Hopefully everything goes all right, even though we banned Melanyeva's propaganda. Family visit to Isa. I will skip. Actually, I will go through this since, again, this is going to be different, and I'm probably going to end up marrying Vina off to Rico, as terrible as that sounds. But this is a different man. This is a different King Ramus, and he's all for that, I guess. After months of promises and schedule conflicts, Vina and I were finally on our way to visit my cousin Rico Torres at his palace in Isa. The city's main road was straight and impossibly wide, a relic of Markian times when the city was a major trading center. I waved out the car window to the crowds of citizens lining the road. Up ahead loomed the domed library of the university. Domed. I noticed most of the people who came out to see us were native Rizian. Even on the streets of the city's Wessex quarter, little Reclowets. Vina suddenly tapped me on the shoulder. Father, look over there. In front of the university library, a construction crew was hastily pulling a sheet over a large object. Stop the car at once. I want to see what's under the sheet. We came to a halt. My guards exited the car and ordered the workers to remove the sheet. Beneath it was one of the statues I'd commissioned earlier in my reign, depicting the Taurus lineage, my father, myself, and Vina. All of our heads had been chopped off. This is an outrage. The guilty party must be found and punished. It's certainly not a warm welcome. Vina laughed bleakly. Do you think Rico wanted us to see this? He's trying to crack down on crime here, isn't he? What better excuse than sedition against the royal family? Either way, this is a disgrace. Order must be brought to Isa one way or another. Good thing the King of Rizia is on his way to restore it. Now, can we please get this over with? She sighed audibly and slouched against the window. Enough with the attitude. You're the Princess of Rizia, and I want you on your best behavior for this visit. She straightened up a little. I understand, Father. I won't make a scene. We rode on in silence until we reached the Palais Saison. Under Rico's stewardship, a formidable-looking iron gate had been constructed around the otherwise tranquil palace complex. His security led us through to the Duke's residence, a blindingly white building with the flags of Rizia and House Taurus hanging from every window. We walked up to the doors. As soon as the guards opened them, a pair of long-nosed Rizian hunting dogs raced towards us, barking. Pet the dogs, of course. Can't be mean to the dogs. I reached out and carefully gave each dog a pat on the head. Bella, Bruno, sit. Both dogs promptly sat at attention, still as statues. I heard the sound of boots on tile as my cousin Rico approached. He was wearing an olive green tweed jacket and a flat cap. He gave me a quick bow of acknowledgement, then knelt and kissed Vina's hand. I was struck by his transformation from a gawky, insecure teen to a broad-shouldered, preternaturally confident young man, so he turned to Aemon Targaryen. Welcome, my cousins. It has been far too long. So it has, Rico. You look sporty. Did father not tell you? We're going hunting. Wait, what? Hugo appeared from behind his son, a sheepish look on his face. Your first hunt as a king. I wanted it to be a surprise. A welcome surprise indeed. It's been ages since I shot something. You'll be glad to know that technology has greatly improved since then. He turned around and showed us the KA-74 semi-automatic rifle strapped to his back. Hugo turned up his nose disapprovingly. Isn't that cheating? Boars are speedy bastards. You'd be surprised, Your Highness. He smiled rakishly at my daughter. We have outfits prepared for the two of you, and your choice of weapon, of course. And I wonder, well, no, I'm going to go ahead and use the good old-fashioned rifle since, again, I'm being nice with Hugo this time around. And we went hunting with him when we were younger. So, yeah, we already have experience with this, so maybe this time I won't actually miss my shot. Hugo smirked at his son. You see, boy, there are still real gentlemen in this world. I do wish I'd known about these plans. I'd never so much as held a gun before. Come now, I'll teach you. It'll be great fun. Inside, Vina and I quickly refreshed ourselves and changed into the hunting garb that had been laid out for us. We stepped out to find two waiting jeeps. I'll ride with Duke Rico. I have much to discuss with him. Rico nodded. An aide held the door open and we hopped into the first car. East of the palace, the landscape quickly turned Helian green. We were entering the Brennis Forest estate, a private hunting ground reserved for nobility only. I turned away from the window to see my cousin smiling at me. I want to thank you for your understanding, Your Majesty. I know the Wessex were pressuring you to denounce Suamina. You very wisely saw their witch hunt for what it was. A false flag if I ever saw one. Wayland obviously planned the bombing. Killing a few of their own means nothing to them. They're like ants. I like to. If it is said, so it is. Rico smirked. I will let you in on a secret, though. Just prior to the incident, we were about to activate a branch of Suamina in Zeal. To what end, precisely? The region is teeming with Rizian loyalists anyway. All they need is a spark. Smolik was never going to hand Zeal over on a silver platter. We'll only get back what's ours if we put the screws to him. Of course, anyone we sent up there would have to operate in total secrecy, but wouldn't it be fun to mess with the Wessex? It wouldn't hurt to have more of an upper hand. Nothing as extreme as the bombing, mind you. We just spread the word about the benevolence of King Ramus. With or without some light coercion. More people should be aware of my benevolence, it's true. Consider us your flag bearers. So, we have an understanding then? Yes. Rico grinned. The Crown has much to gain from this arrangement, Your Majesty, and not only in Zeal. We kept driving. The woods around us were growing denser. How are you faring as Duke of Isa, my cousin? Be honest. Rico eagerly turned back towards me. I'm sure you've been kept abreast of the situation here, Your Majesty. The drugs, the violence, the open resistance against our governments. It's concerning indeed. What can I do to help? I'm glad you asked. I've heard that in times of emergency, police from the Rizian Central Forces can be placed under individual leaders' direct command. I've petitioned your War and Security Counselor for just such a transfer, but she refused. She made a mistake. The British police cannot be counted on to help you keep the peace here. If anything, they are actively working against me. You understand that the city is a bellwether for our country, for our house. If we lose it, we lose Rizia. I'll send you the petition when we are both back home. I trust you to do what's best for our city. We pulled off the road and continued some distance on a dirt path that wound through the pines. We came to a halt at the mouth of a grassy clearing with gently sloping sides. Hunting blinds lined its perimeter. In my youth, Hugh and I had nicknamed it the Soup Tureen. At last, enough politics talk. We disembarked and Rico eagerly unlatched the back of our Jeep. Bella and Bruno hopped out and started sniffing the air. Caught the scent already, my dears? Must be dozens of boars out there. The other car pulled up next to us. Hugo and Vina got out, still in conversation. So you see, Your Highness, knowing how to aim and fire a gun correctly is as useful a royal skill as knowing how to hold a salad fork. Keep at it, Hugo. You'll make a huntress out of my daughter yet. With her instincts, she'll be the finest shot this kingdom ever saw. He waved his son over. But I've bored you enough, Your Highness. I believe Rico was going to show you the ropes. I would be delighted to, if the king permits. He extends his hand to my daughter. Go ahead, Vina. I hear Rico is an excellent shot. Vina took Rico's hand. With a smile, he picked up their guns and walked her over to one of the blinds, dogs in tow. Hugo shrugged. The two of us it is, Your Majesty. An assistant handed me my rifle. It was a Rizian-made Dator 56, similar to the one I'd used during my summers hunting with Hugo. My son may aim for quantity, but men like us know quality is key. He locked and loaded his own Dator rifle. His stock had a gold embossed bull on it. We climbed up into the hunting blind opposite of Vina and Rico's position. And now we play the waiting game. There was a long stretch of silence, punctuated only by the chirping of birds and the occasional bark of Bella and Bruno in the distance. I may not like Rico's hunting methods, but his dogs are second to none. They'll drive the boars out in no time. Rico's a shrewd kid, takes after his father. You're too kind. He calmly aimed his rifle towards the glade. So you'll consider him as a marriage prospect for your daughter, then? Shockingly enough, the thought never crossed my mind. That is indeed shocking, Your Majesty. As you know, there are interests both inside and outside this country who seek to snatch Rizia away from House Taurus. Consanguinity wouldn't be my first choice, either, but it's the only way to keep our family in power. Let's see how they get along today before we start making wedding arrangements. Fair enough. Rico can be quite the charmer when he sets his mind to it. As your uncle and your advisor, this is my advice. You may follow or disregard it as you choose. Just then, we heard a rustling sound coming from the woods. Bella and Bruno had found their quarry. A group of boars raced into the clearing, the dogs nipping at their heels. Working in tandem, they forced their prey into the lowest part of the glade. Looking through my gun sight, I fixed my crosshairs on the group, and I shot a boar. I took aim and pulled the trigger. The largest boar fell to the ground. The others scattered in all directions, squealing. Well done. As I turned away to reload, I heard a series of rapid-fire bangs coming from Rico's direction. I looked back out of the blind to see the ground littered with dead boars. Not very sporting, if you ask me. By the end of the hunt, I had racked up 4 kills. Hugo had 6, and Rico had a dozen. He and my daughter were deep in conversation as they climbed down from their blind. I never really liked how they did this part right here, because it makes it seem like they're just in a very kind of, not necessarily a heated debate, but they're just kind of in a sporting kind of debate, where I kind of feel like they need to say that they were in an argument on their way down the hill or something like that, or down from the blind. I'm telling you, if Wessex and Durdians were granted the same rights as native Rizians, none of this would be happening. You're right, it'd be worse. Rizia would have collapsed under the strain of providing for its own, as well as millions of foreign parasites. Parasites? They mine our gold and farm our crops, you idiot. If anyone's a parasite, it's the nobles siphoning wealth from their labor. He flung his gun on the ground in frustration. I'm afraid your daughter didn't shoot a damn thing on today's hunt, Your Majesty. She was too busy distracting me with her nonsense opinions. Vina, we're guests here in Isa. Apologize to Rico now. Vina looked sullenly at the ground. Sorry, Your Grace. We posed for photographs next to the boars we'd killed. The assistant began packing everything away. We'll eat well tonight. The chef at Palais Saison does an excellent braised boar with wine sauce. Rico, Vina, why don't you two ride ahead and notify the kitchen staff? His Majesty and I will be right behind you. Vina gave me a pleading look. Yes, go ahead. One last chance for you to have a civil conversation before we leave. Vina grimaced at me as Rico led her to one of the waiting jeeps. Hugo and I got into the second, and the four of us headed back to the palace. Dinner that night was indeed delicious. Alrighty then. So, of course, we were just torturing the mess out of Vina. This couldn't end well. A new report released by the Rizia Imperi Business Women's Association, RIBA, reveals that despite the great strides our kingdom has made for women's rights, inequality persists in the job market. Men still earn significantly more than women, a gap that the RIBA report suggests can be surmounted with the help of government intervention. I wonder if this is another one of those things where I should probably go ahead and pass it. It's not an RPP proposal, so maybe it'll make me look good. As a police transfer, approve or deny Duke Rico's Torres's request. Duke Rico Torres of Isa has requested the transfer of additional police forces to his direct control to crack down on the recent upswing in crime. These reinforcements will be drawn from the federally controlled Central Police Headquartered in Rizia Imperi. I will approve the police transfer because my dear cousin needs help. All right, and now we have the royal visit to the Scarlet Kingbird Festival. We also have some decrees we can do. What new decrees do we have? Build Zeal Intelligence Hub and Mave Nortis. Recognizing the ever-present aspiration to reunite the territory of Zeal with Rizia, we hereby sanction the establishment of the Mave Nortis Foreign Intelligence Hub. This center will be instrumental in our intelligence endeavors, gathering crucial information and conducting covert operations. It will also play a pivotal role in influencing the Rizian populace in Zeal, nudging them towards the vision of reunification and freeing the territory from Wayland's grasp. And of course, we will sign that. Okay, the RNC doesn't look like they have any other proposals. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and impose an equal gender pay. Let's see. This decree mandates the implementation of equal pay for equal work, regardless of gender, thereby fortifying the principles of fairness and gender equality in the workforce. It compels all employers to eliminate any wage disparities that do not reflect differences in skill, experience, or role responsibility. This is a stride towards dismantling systematic inequalities, ensuring a balanced economic participation for all citizens. So yes, let's go ahead and sign that. And hopefully this will just, again, make us look good. That's the main thing I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to make it, seem like, we're doing things for the people and such. And I guess that's all I'm going to be doing for right now. We did this in the previous game, so I won't turn around and rehash this. New intelligence hub shrouded in mystery. In a very vague communique issued by the palace, plans were unveiled for new funds to be allocated to Rizia's intelligence services. Mentions were made of a new base of operations, although the government withheld the exact details due to the national security considerations. It was highlighted that the most important mission of the administration remains the reunification of Zeal with the rest of our fatherland, and that the expanded intelligence operations feed into this goal. We at the Royal Herald are incredibly excited for all the spy thriller stories that surely will be written about the exploits of Rizian operatives many years from now. You know, I feel like I don't know if the palace would allow this part right here because you're just kind of being like, oh yeah, you know, they're probably going to be in Zeal, but you know, we don't really know exactly. So if I was the palace, I'd be like, you're not putting that in there. So let's see. Expansion of Rizian intelligence operation puts Wayland on edge. News about Rizia's expanding intelligence program has worried Wayland officials, especially within its Zeal administration. While Wayland and Rizia both remain formally committed to a peaceful reunification of Zeal with Rizia, the former has warned Rizia to refrain from covert operations on its territory, saying it could endanger relations between the two countries. All right. Royal visit to the Scarlet Kingbird Festival. Other than the fact that I'm going to be a douche to Manus, it's not going to be a whole lot going on here, so I'll skip through this. Okay, so we got through the little meeting that, the little speech that Manus Saison gave, and all but threatened to kill him for treason. So that was a thing. Let's see, meeting with Rusty. Nothing too important going on there. And there's nothing really going on throughout the world. How is our relations with the Republic of Morella going? Okay, so now they're to neutral. Great. So both of these, oh god, I didn't mean to go all the way back over there. So both Morella and Dirtia now are at neutral, which is just what I want it to be at. And of course, our feelings with Wayland are straight up hostile. All right, meeting with Rusty Montaro. Again, I'll skip through this. It's going to come to the deal where we can choose to accept his bribe or whatever. We are going to accept his bribe because I do want more of a stake in Rizian Royal Gold. But beyond that, yeah, not a whole lot else is going to actually be happening here. So again, I'll be skipping through this. All right, so we've made our way out of that meeting. I also just saw that our alliance, or not alliance, but our relations with Dirtia has changed. Unfriendly? Why is it unfriendly? I'm not sure why that changed to unfriendly. I don't know if there's anything we can turn around to do to change that. Yeah, I'm guessing there's not really any laws that I can pass that'll help with that for right now. That might be something I can change on the back end. We'll see how it goes. Anywho, this is the whole sweeping Lucida off of her feet situation. So again, I'll skip through this. All right, the operation to turn around and get with Lucida is progressing nicely. Let's see. What else we have here? The gas field survey reaches completion. What else do we have? Oh, Rufus Greg is talking about that. And of course, the Swordfish economic recession is happening. Provincial tax subsidy. Huh. Now that we have visited all of Rizia's provinces, we have the opportunity to grant a provincial tax subsidy to one or more of them. This will reduce our government income, but have a positive effect on our relationship with the province in question. Let's see. So Carde Monteclair is the Azaros, correct? They're already getting quite a bit from us. Brennus is over here, correct? This is the Saisons. And Valenquirus is House Taurus, correct? Should I give it to Valenquirus or should I give it to Carde Monteclar? Because we've already done quite a bit in Carde Monteclar, so I don't really think I need to do any more. I mean, sure, it would help the relationship, but I'm pretty sure the relationship is already pretty good. So let's grant subsidies to Valenquirus since, you know, this is our folks. All right. House Taurus welcomes Valenquir tax subsidy. Duke Hubertus Taurus has expressed his gratitude for the generous tax subsidy granted to the Valenquirus province. The Duke says the lower taxes will allow the province to develop further. Okay. All right, so we're going to lose 5 energy in the next turn. And what else? We'll have 19 budget, and we'll be back to 15 with our authority. Again, I'm going to change this once I end the video. All right, we're back into the thick of it. Let's see what we have here. React to protesters. Respond to the Monkey's Palace welfare of protesters. A substantial crowd has amassed at the palace tourist gates in Monkeys, vocalizing their concerns over the lack of access to higher quality education and healthcare services. Some voicing concerns with increasingly difficult living conditions. The crowd can choose to disperse them, allow their peaceful protests, or offer assurances to approve welfare spending across the nation. All right, I'll offer an assurance and I'll go ahead and pass that. Okay, so this went to -2 instead. Let me see, we have -6 from industrial production. Let me see, -2 from Roomberg stuff. Let's see, energy generation curtailment is -4, and then everything else is just kind of 0. Our budget is now at 3 because we have energy storage costs. We have reduced trade from the CSP and per turn military expenditures. So there's that. And of course, our authority is through the roof. So let's go ahead and pass that decree to help the living standards or whatever. I'm not going to do the Housing for Poor initiative. Increase health and education funding. God, I didn't want to do this. I really hope this doesn't benefit the RPP. If it does, I might just go back and change some things. Okay, so now that we have that, I kind of want to sell some energy, just so that's one thing that I don't have to worry about looking for on the back end of things. Well, they all of these stats, when you edit them on the back end, they're right next to each other, so it's actually not that hard to find. The ones that's hard to find are these in particular, which even these, they're really not that hard to find because you can just search for these particular words, and of course they should pop up. Like if you just search production, you'll run into this. If you search exports, this should come up. And if you search curtailment, I think this is the only thing that actually comes up. So it won't be too hard to actually find them. I just have to remember to actually see which each one of these are to find. Okay. Protests at palace gates. Thousands of protesters gathered outside the Monkey's Palace complaining about the state of our welfare system. After rousing speeches by local community leaders, the crowd slowly started to dissipate, but the protests over by the early evening. Okay. Royal decree drastically increases welfare funding. In order to strengthen the state's healthcare and education systems, the king has signed a new decree allowing for additional funds to be allocated to these institutions. A small sum has also been allocated to furthering medical research to reduce even more horrible diseases to a story of the past. This unwavering commitment to the people shows how much the crown cares about the Rizian populace, and we can only repay this commitment by showing the same amount of loyalty to our king. That's right, keep that propaganda going. All right, so this is going to be the Palais gas dispute. Just to go ahead and give you a heads up on how this is going to work out. Of course, you know, we're going to have to go to Palais eventually. But I am going to be sending the Navy right off the bat, and then we'll have our conversation. But we're basically just going to say fuck you to Axel, and there will be war. There will be glorious war. So I'll skip to that, and then I'll do the meeting with Axel, and then after that, that will wrap up things in this video. So more skipping. All right, so we've went ahead and sent the fleet to go ahead and deal with this situation down here in Palais. However, we do have a couple things going on right now. The Guild of Royal Allies is asking us for stuff. Confederacy of Vendenism requests support in uprising. Okay, we can of course send help. With instability in key states of the Confederacy, such as the Sultanate of Rankara, Holy Isle of Pangubi, and the Duchy of Tamarin, the situation is rapidly deteriorating. Prince Consort Kabun Sangtam leads the effort to maintain monarchic control and suppress the uprising, but their resources are stretched thin. In a request for grace solidarity, Vendenism turns to the guild for assistance. Send extensive military equipment, because we have plenty of stuff to send them. All right, so we have a royal decree that we can turn around and do. And what is that exactly? Oh, okay, we can expand our stuff here. So let's go ahead and expand the Fort Ailes naval base. A strategic initiative to expand and modernize the Fort Ailes naval base, bolstering our naval production and defensive capabilities. This project will boost defenses around the facilities and heavily expand the dockyards. The decree also enhances our naval invasion support capabilities, ensuring readiness for any maritime conflict, although it may strain our current budgetary allocations. We have plenty of budget. We have infinite budget. We have all the budget. All right, so we will extend that. We'll expand the Torador Air Force Base. The Torador Air Force Base is poised for substantial expansion, designed to substantially increase its aircraft capacity. This strategic development is aimed at strengthening the Air Force's operational capabilities, ensuring preparedness for a wide range of aerial missions and potential conflicts. In addition, a portion of the budget is dedicated to research projects at an integrated manufacturing facility. These projects are focused on enhancing the effectiveness of bombing and aerial combat, further optimizing the Air Force's combat efficiency. And we will, of course, sign that as well. And last but not least, we will strengthen the Palais border fortifications. In a resolve to bolster our territorial sanctity and fortify our historic claim, the kingdom intends to reinforce the established network of trenches and defenses along the Rizian Palais boundary. Erected a mere 2 decades ago, these fortifications have steadfastly stood guard against potential adversities. By amplifying these structures, Rizia not only asserts its unwavering dominion over the Palais administrative district, but further guarantees enduring security for its people and the border realm. And of course, I will sign it. All right, so we have increased things quite a bit along the border. I don't think there's any other things we need to pass right now. I don't think I'm missing anything. After this video, again, this will be the last video that I'm recording. I'm recording on a Sunday right now. So, of course, if there are any comments in the comment section, please let me know. And I will get back to you as soon as I can. I will probably have gathered some comments from the first video though, and I will start implementing those into the next video that I'll record. So there will be a bit of a delay. So like I said, I think I'm going to do this Monday, and then Wednesday this video will turn around and come out, and then maybe the next video will come out on Friday, and then if there's another one, it'll come out on Monday, so on and so forth. So there's going to be some gaps in between the videos. All right. Weaponry departs for Vendenism. The arms promised to Vendenism's prince consort Kabun Sangtam have left the harbor of Monkeys, sealing the commitment of our kingdom to international solidarity in the face of great challenges against established fellow monarchies. I think this is actually different from how this played out before, but I could be wrong. I think it was when I sent a fleet before in the past. I sent a fleet to help out in the war, and then peaceful protesters tried to turn around and block it or something like that. I'm guessing that's not going to happen. Well, it may happen this time around too, but we'll see. This is the gold mine. That's the Ramos Taurus Military Academy. The hydroelectric dam. So that'll be done next turn, I'm guessing. Sanctuary expansion, that's still being worked on. Sanctuary expansion down there is also still being worked on. And my God, flying all over the place. All right. So last but not least, the Grand Duchy of Palais. Oh, well, we have news articles first. Palais frontier to be strengthened. In its unwavering commitment to keeping the people of Rizia safe, the king has signed a decree ordering the immediate construction of a new border fortifications with Palais. Warding of foreign threats and securing the independence of Rizia is of the utmost importance to the crown. The construction of these fortifications are needed to secure our dominion over the Palais Administrative District. A network of existing fortifications already exists, but is nearly 2 decades old at this point and thus in dire need of an upgrade. New bunkers, underground railways between supply depots, forward observation posts, and minefields will ensure that this border will be impenetrable to any bad actors intent on harming our monarchy. Rizia's eagles to soar over Terrador. The kingdom's already formidable air force base at Terrador is to be expanded in the coming months, after a statement from the Air Force that the king has allocated the needed funds. New state-of-the-art helicopter facilities will be built, an expansion of existing refueling facilities is planned, and a new runway will be constructed. A small test runway for more experimental types of aviation is also planned, although the palace wasn't willing to provide details on the program. This runway is supposed to be removed from the main airbase in order to conceal its exact location. Nice. Fordale's naval base expansion announced. In order to bolster the capabilities of the Rizian Navy to project power and protect the interests of the crown better, the palace has ordered an expansion of the naval base at Fort Ailes. On top of the already existing docks for light vessels, a modern dry dock will be constructed that's capable of holding the largest of Rizian naval vessels whenever they are needed or are in need of repair. An expansion of the submarine base is also planned. The expansion will vastly improve Rizia's naval power in the Antician, allowing our kingdom to decisively secure its shores. I wonder if Shenraka would be willing to, maybe help us make some carriers or something like that. That when they mentioned the whole submarine carrier thing, that got me thinking about I think it's the DLC for Ace Combat 7. I think there's a submarine that's in there, and it also has it's basically a carrier also, and I think it also can shoot nuclear missiles or something like that. So it kind of got me thinking about that, and there you go. They have Ace Combat levels of ridiculousness, and that's very ridiculous. Okay, Palais expresses worries as at Rizia military buildup. Rizia's recent announcement that it's building up the fortifications at the Palais border have worried the international community, with especially Palais expressing strong opposition to the move, claiming it threatens to jeopardize the Rizian and Palaisian relations. While Palais stated that they have no intention to escalate the situation, all eyes are now on Rizia, with some worried that the increased military presence at the Palais border might signal a repeat of the previous war fought between the two nations. When approached for comment, Rizia's government representative said the fortifications are merely defense in nature. I guess defensive in nature was what was meant. All right. It was my first visit to Palais since becoming king of Rizia. Titus and I stood side by side, peering out the window of Castle Reinhardt. The Grand Duchy's royal residence was built on the foundations of an ancient palico, one of the stone fortifications that gave Palais its name. After his coronation, Duke Axel Reinhardt had hired an up-and-coming local architect to expand the old building into a swooping, bulging wood and glass structure that seemed almost alive. The reception room had been moved to the top floor and boasted enormous curved windows with a view of the Palais skyline. Its soaring, angular skyscrapers were unlike anything built in Rizia. So this is the Pearl of the Antician. You sound unimpressed, Captain. I'm a simple man, sir. Give me the classism of Palais Resna over, whatever this is. Where are you from, Titus? Born and raised in Port Dresden. My father was killed during the operation to take Palais back. Well, to take back Palais. I took up championship boxing to support my family. I bet you were good at it. Good enough to get noticed by military recruiters. I do miss those days in the ring sometimes. The panel on the wall slid open, and a secretary clad in a pastel mini dress emerged. She motioned for me to enter. Into the breach. Good luck, sir. The secretary announced my entrance. I stepped into the room and was greeted by Duke Reinhardt. The Pelagian ruler hadn't aged a day since we last met. He was tall, square-jawed, with looks out of an adventure serial. I recall that the tabloids had nicknamed him Duke Dashing. He maintained eye contact as he bowed to me. Your Majesty, we meet again. No ministers, no aides. I thought it best to try and settle this business between ourselves like in the old days. The secretary left, closing the door behind her. The Duke and I took seats on opposite sides of a wooden conference table. His posture was casual, even as he regarded me with intensity. I'll be honest with you, Your Majesty, I never expected my brother to abdicate. I was perfectly happy living a life of leisure, coasting off the family fortune, enjoying the odd celebrity rendezvous. Life is full of surprises, Your Grace. Should we get down to negotiations? What is there to negotiate? He sighed and slid a report across the table towards me. My security minister woke me up at midnight with this. I was assured that Palais had every right to begin drilling in the Orus gas field. And now our ship finds itself in a standoff with the Rizian Navy. Tell me, Your Majesty, what is the meaning of this? What do you think it means, Your Grace? Nah, we're not going to be beating around the bush. This is a time of war. No. Your country sending the drill ship was an act of provocation. I had no choice but to respond in kind. You could have waited for me to state my case. Instead, you prove once more that you have no respect for Pelagian sovereignty. Your sovereignty only exists because of lesbian support. Without it, Palais would crumble. And what of Rizio and Runeberg? What of the deal your father made with Wayland to keep House Taurus in power? I saw intensity in his eyes. You know, Your Majesty, we Reinhardts have ruled Palais for as long as the Tauruses have ruled Rizia. Yes, Palais was part of the Volgol's empire, but we developed our own laws and customs, even our own language. When the empire fell apart, what were we supposed to do? Simply give up everything we had built? Calais could have kept its cultural identity intact if it had rejoined Rizia. Your father would never have allowed that, and your own nationalist tendencies make me think you wouldn't either. Lesbia, on the other hand, was more than willing to support our independence. They supported your independence by making you dependent on them, by making us wealthy, by giving us the capacity to defend ourselves against aggressors like you. Hmm. Do I want to go with this or do I want to go with this? You won't want to be connected to a monarchy for long, though. Have you overthrown the first chance to get? Enough with the history lessons. What do you plan to do now? His gaze hardened as he looked at me. I am bringing this up so you understand the stakes. We have an obligation to Lesbia. When they ask us for natural gas, we can hardly refuse. So you see, Your Majesty, we can't let Rizia take it from us, not without a fight. If it's a fight you want, it's a fight you'll get. Are you sure, Your Majesty? You remember what happened in the 1920s. I remember better than you. You weren't even born. Then you know how unwise it is to provoke my Grand Duchy. I will give you one chance. Withdraw your navy and we will have a reasonable discussion about the gas field. Absolutely not. My ships are staying right where they are. Duke Reinhardt paled. He swallowed before speaking. That's it then. I see no choice but to call in the AN for arbitration. Later, if it is said, so it is, so it will be. I never cared for those old Ruis's saws. It's not a saw, it's a promise. Your words shall translate into actions. You're right about that. In any event, hope you will send your ships away peacefully once you lose. What makes you think we'll lose? Remember that we have grace on our side. That's presumptuous of you, Your Grace. You'll find no support from the rest of South Marcopa. And you will? He reached under his desk and pressed an intercom button. Hilda, be a doll and help show His Majesty the way out of the building. Wouldn't want him getting lost. He sat back in his chair and scrutinized me closely. You do understand that as long as your navy is in our waters, we are obliged to send our ships to join yours. By all means, do. You're playing a very dangerous game. I truly hope we can come to a peaceful resolution through the Alliance of Nations, for your sake mostly. Duke Reinhardt's secretary opened the door. He stood up and gestured for me to do the same. I'll see you in court, King Ramus. See you on the battlefield. I rejoined Titus in the reception room. We followed Hilda through winding corridors to the front door. We stepped outside into the waning sunlight. He waited until we were out of the building's shadow to speak. How did it go, Your Majesty? We may yet have a chance to avenge your father's death. Titus nodded wordlessly. We got into the car and began the long trip back to Port Drazen. All right. I feel like we should have got some authority from, being a hard ass in that situation. But, so yeah, we've turned around and is this like an intelligence briefing about my daughter? Not great. Oh, that's Bandit Saison, and then that's the Daria Darava, I think is her name. Call with Prime Minister Alvarez. Attend House of Delegates session. Hugo did tell me that I should go, so I will go. Oh crap, I gotta make a decision. Attend the session and give the final ruling on the proposal in question. I don't have to do it right now, right? Okay, so yeah, I don't have to do it right now. Call with Prime Minister Alvarez. Okay, I did say I was going to end it after the last thing, but let me go ahead and do this, and then I'll end it. It had been a week since my meeting with Duke Reinhardt in Palais. The Alliance of Nations had accepted our request to arbitrate ownership of the Oris gas field. Preliminary hearings were to begin soon. In the meantime, Lesbian Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez had contacted Lorento asking to speak with me. I was spending the week at my palace in Monkeys. Lorento visited to brief me ahead of the phone call. He stepped in front of my desk and bowed. Good afternoon, Your Majesty. I trust you well, Mr. Escobar. Well enough, though I must say I'm worried by the increasing tensions in southern Marcopa. Our Rumburgian allies have expressed their support for our naval blockade as expected, and they are sure to be of use during the AN arbitration process. However, the nations of Morella has yet to support or denounce us. The same goes for Dirtia. Meanwhile, my request for Wayland to give us an updated timeline on the Zeal handover have been repeatedly ignored. To hell with Wayland. If they won't give us Zeal back, we'll just have to take it from them. I would urge patience, Your Majesty. I have filed a complaint with the Alliance of Nations. Presumably, this will be addressed during the upcoming South Marcopa session. For now, though, we have Prime Minister Alvarez to worry about. I've heard he's an alcoholic. Rare is the world leader who doesn't enjoy a little drink on the job, or a big one. But no, Alvarez has apparently acknowledged his problem and entered a rehabilitation program. He's as sober as an archpriestess, for now. That'll be all. I'm ready for the phone call. Very good, Your Majesty. I'll meet you afterwards for a debriefing. An assistant brought in the blue telephone that was used for calls with heads of state. At 3:01 p.m., it rang. Good afternoon, King Ramos. This is Patricio Alvarez. This is His Majesty Ramos Torres, ruler of Rizia, commander of the Royal Rizian Armed Forces, Duke of Valenquirus, and protector of the Resonant Empire. Quite the mouthful. May your reign be as long as your titles. You must have some idea why I'm calling. Something to do with the gas fill, I assume. Your assumption is correct. I heard him sigh on the other end of the line. Here I am about to land the gas deal of a lifetime, and then my business partner calls me up and tells me we have to wait for the AN arbitration. You really thought Rizia would cede the field without a fight? I thought you were a shrewd king, one who knows which way the wind is blowing. My legal counsel has a crystal clear case for Pelagian ownership of the gas field. You can talk about Andor rules all you want, but in the end, it's going to come down to your word versus ours. And who do you think has more sway with the Alliance of Nations? I understand I might lose, but I'm not going to back down on this. Not might, Your Majesty, you will lose, after wasting a lot of unnecessary time and money. If you want to avoid all that, I have a proposition. Sorry, but I'm not interested. At least hear me out first. I've been following the situation in Zeal. It seems to me like you could use help with this debacle. Thanks, but I have everything under control. So President Smolik has promised to return Zeal as scheduled, despite the recent incident? Not in so many words. He's a slippery man, Smolik. You won't get your territory back unless you tighten your grip on him. I already have a plan. It doesn't involve Lesbia. All I'm suggesting is that we pitch in from the sidelines by speaking up on your behalf at the upcoming AN session, for example. Unfortunately, Rizia needs natural gas more than we need help with Wayland. What about both then? Cede the Oris field to Palais. In addition to assistance, in addition to the assistance I just promised, we'll sell you 1/4 of the exploration rights. That's an insult, Mr. Alvarez. Those rights are ours to begin with. How about this then? If there's one thing you and I can agree on, it's that the new Prime Minister of Morella is bad news. Getting up on her high horse, thinking she can take our hard-earned gold just because she has Vogsland in her corner. Do not assume that I agree with you on this matter, Mr. Prime Minister. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't aware you wanted to torpedo your country's reputation as a world-famous gold producer. On the off chance that you don't, wouldn't it be great if Rizia and Lesbia teamed up and taught the commies a lesson? 4 countries share the mining rights to the methium its. 2 of them are in favor of nationalization. I know what my stance is, but yours has been a mystery up to now. I mean, on the one hand, I do kind of want help with Wayland, but at the same time, I really want to fight Palais, and I think my hatred of Palais supersedes my hatred of the Biscuit Lady. It's real close. It's real close, but right now I really want Palais. I'll get her in another playthrough, but in this playthrough, I really want Palais. I am going to make Axel bend the knee. Comrade Sultana can nationalize our gold over my dead body. No. We've exploited Morella's resources enough. Sultana can do what she wants with the its. So you're fine with losing all the money you've invested there, and all the revenue the mines have been generating for you. Here's my take. If Madam Prime Minister thinks she can snatch up our mines just because Chancellor Hagel's taken a shine to her, she's got another thing coming. See it my way by the next ITS board meeting, and you'll get 25% of the rights to the Oris field completely on the house. Assuming you withdraw your claim and end the arbitration process, of course. So you want me to compromise my principles in exchange for natural gas that should belong to my country anyway? That's a vulgar way to phrase it. I am selflessly offering you the opportunity to save us both not 1 major headache, but 2. Unfortunately, I must refuse all of your offers. We are confident we have a claim to the Oris field and we'll fight for it as long as we need to. Yeah. A pity, Your Majesty, but that's your prerogative. I'll see you in Kairut. And I'll see you in hell. The line dropped. I sat there for a while, wondering what I had gotten myself into. Were Duke Reinhardt and Prime Minister Alvarez right? Was I doomed to lose this battle? Yes, am I doomed to lose this battle? I wonder if there's some finagling I can do on the back end in order to change the likelihood of me winning or losing this vote. I might actually be able to do it. I kind of want to see what happens if I don't change anything, but I'll see if I can change anything on the back end. Lastly, let's go ahead. Let's see. Evening conversation with Queen Mother. Visit to the House of Delegates. Palais sends Navy to Oris Field. Following our refusal to withdraw the Rizian Navy from the borders of the Oris gas field, Duke Reinhardt has sent an equal number of Palatian naval reinforcements to patrol the vicinity. Our deployed officers warn of potential escalation. Oh, I'm ready for it. I'm so ready for it. Ready for it that's just been me this entire time. I've just been ready for it. So, in the next episode, we will have visiting the House of Delegates, and we'll also have an evening conversation with Queen Mother Estella. Let's see what news articles we have. Rizian Navy asserts sovereign rights to new gas field. As a response to the Grand Duchy of Palay's audacious attempt to claim the newly discovered Oris gas field without our kingdom's agreement, a number of ships from the Rizian Royal Navy have been deployed to surround the field and defend Rizia's sovereign right to the resource. This move has garnered significant support from Rizians nationwide and serves as a firm commitment to our country's interests and regional stability. The decision, announced by His Majesty King Ramis, has offered a clear signal to Palais about Rizia's determination to defend its territorial rights. Yet the blockade is seen as a protective measure ensuring Rizia's interests while ownership is being decided. All right, so we have the OMEC reports decline in East Marcopan economic integration. Arcadia extends aid to impoverished-free cities. All eyes on South Marcopa upcoming session. Gas field standoff. Rizia sends Navy to Pelagian waters. A potentially violent gas dispute is brewing between the nations of Rizia and Palais. After the Grand Duchy staked a claim on Oris, a large undersea natural gas field located roughly between the two countries, the Rizian government opted for a military response, sending naval reinforcements to block the field before the Pelagians could begin exploratory drilling. There has obviously been no love lost between the Kingdom of Rizia and the Grand Duchy of Palais since the former's failed campaign to retake the latter by military force 30 years ago. We fear it will not take much to rekindle old tensions. Expect further updates as the situation develops. And the CSP has deployed medium-range missiles and San Samia base. All right, so that's everything that is going on. And like I said, we'll pick up these next two things in the next episode. So if you like the episode, like the episode. If you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe. I have a lot of things on the channel, and I will have many other things in the future. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.